Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Grizzly K, and this is a condensed version of the live stream that I had about this case in case you are one of those people that is pressed for time and you feel like, oh man, I'm never going to watch a 2-hour live stream. I just want to know what happened here. So that's what the point of this is. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of this case and then also just insert the part where I read through the probable cause affidavit. Just be warned that this does, of course, come with a trigger warning. This content is for adults only, and it is very disturbing. So let's dive into it. Valerie Tindall was 17 years old when she was last seen leaving her home in Arlington, Indiana on June 7th of 2023 around noon. She drove off in her green Honda Accord, smiling at her dad and described as being in a really good mood. She texted her boss and neighbor, so yes, the 59-year-old neighbor, Patrick Scott, was also her boss. He gave her a summer job. He owned a lawn mowing company. So she was working there. It sounds like Mondays and Tuesdays, not actually on Wednesdays, but on that day was a Wednesday and she was going to work. Valerie was born on August 29th of 2005 to Sheena Sandefur and Jack Tindall. She was the middle child. Her mother said that Valerie had experienced trauma at a young age, so the family moved from Indianapolis to the country to escape the violence, which makes this case so sad because danger was right there in this tiny little town of Arlington, Indiana, where there's only like 300 people living there. She attended the Rushville Consolidated High School, and while in the past her grades weren't so good, she was working really hard and getting A's and B's and was excited to go to college. She got accepted into many colleges and wanted to become a vet. Valerie was friends with this neighbor, Patrick Scott, the 59-year-old. She was friends with him and his granddaughter as well. Her parents said that she had a bond with Patrick, and while she worked for him that summer, they were friends. He actually took her to an aquarium in Newport in Kentucky. So there's a typo there, it's not Kansas, Kentucky. And also, they said on social media, the mom said 3 weeks ago that she and the father okayed the trip to Newport. I have the screenshot. Apparently, they were under the impression that she would be going with Patrick and his wife and his granddaughter, perhaps, to this aquarium, but it seems like from photos found in her drawer that it was really only her that went with him, which is a red flag. Now, he was tracking her on a Live 360 app, which if you want to pause and read that little screenshot that I have there, you can. But the point is that it seems like he was acting like a jealous boyfriend, according to her family, and he added her to his family's Live 360 app, tracking her every move, phoning her dad when he didn't like that she was out and about somewhere. So that's pretty odd. Now, the timeline, this is from social media, so take it with a grain of salt. But of course, it's her mother actually speculating here that she thought that she was pregnant. So that would, just remember that, because one has to wonder why this guy did what he did. So it could either be a jealous rage if she got pregnant from someone else, or if he got her pregnant from being inappropriate with her, that would out him in a big way as a groomer and predator, allegedly. So I just wanted to put that in there as well, just for context. I've tried to dig out as much as possible from social media for you, as well as, of course, from the press conference, from what her parents said after the press conference, and from court documents. So on June 7th of 2023, Valerie actually texted Patrick at 11:23 a.m. saying, "I'll be there soon." She left home for work around noon, and then her dad said she was in a great mood, as I said to you before, and she didn't usually work on Wednesdays, and when she did work, she actually usually drove with him. So this was also odd that she was driving in that day. He also didn't usually work at that specific site where he asked her to meet on Wednesdays. Of course, hindsight's 2020, right? So he usually drove his truck and trailer to the job sites, and on this day, his truck and trailer and another car were there. So it's like he pre-planned going home in another car, which is very weird. Her phone last pinged back in Arlington, and cameras caught his maroon or red Ford Taurus with her in it, even though he claims he dropped her off in Homer, Indiana, to meet another guy. Or he said he didn't see her that day, she didn't work that day, or he only saw her for a bit, and he made up all sorts of stories along the way, which is why in June, by the end of June, he was charged with falsifying information, and then he bailed out on that. It was a $10,000 bond, he had to pay 10% cash, and so he was free to roam about again. Anyway, and we'll get to the rest. So then someone who lived at the apartment at the job site actually overheard Patrick telling Valerie that he was going to take her to lunch, that he was taking her someplace special, apparently in Indianapolis, which is quite odd if that's a place that's triggering for her, according to her family, based on trauma that she may have experienced there when she was younger. So when Sheena got back home from work, she was concerned that Valerie wasn't home yet, especially on a day that she didn't usually work. She called friends and neighbors and the police to report her missing. She was officially reported missing on June 8th of 2023. By June 10th, a silver alert went out nationwide or statewide, right, in the USA. Also, shortly after Valerie went missing, her sister and brother-in-law saw Patrick tearing down and burning his garage. Now, some reports say shed, some say garage, so I'm not sure which one it is, but tearing down and burning a structure at 2 a.m. One neighbor also noticed this and took a video recording. Now, her remains were found in a homemade box under that rubble at that location. So the Rush County Sheriff's Department asked for help in locating her vehicle and anyone who had seen Valerie with Patrick that day, or either one of them. On June 29th of 2023, her car was located. So people in the live stream chat said that in Indiana, you usually don't have front license plates. In the documents, they say the license plates were removed, so I thought it would be front and back. But either way, he removed the license plates and he said he chucked it in a river, including the keys. Anyway, so her car was located, but her parents only found out about that in August. Also because the FBI and the marshals didn't want to tip him off, that they were onto him, that they could see they found her car and they had lots of reports and cameras and everything and were building a case against him, right? So Patrick was arrested and charged with a misdemeanor count of false informing. That's the one that we talked about before. And he never helped search for Valerie. But he certainly went over to the house to try to console the family. And in hindsight now, from reading the document, what we know is that he says he strangled Valerie with a belt and he continued to wear that belt. So think about how sickening that is, right? So why would he ask her to meet him there that day? Now, again, you can pause to read. I'm powering through to make this as condensed as possible for you if you, press for time. But basically, her mom was saying that he was saying to her, apparently, that he was going to buy her a new car. So she thinks that he lured her there that day, saying, well, meet me there, and then we'll go and get this car that I want to buy you. So that is very sad because it's kind of, typical of a groomer to lure someone with, as her mom said, like with candy, in this case, luring a 17-year-old about to turn 18 with a brand new car. So this is a picture of Valerie with her parents. More than 50 search warrants have been carried out since Valerie went missing. And also, if you see something, say something, because people who lived at those apartments actually saw things and reported that to the family and to the police, which did help in the investigation. So you can pause to read there as well if you want to. So this as well, I'm not going to read through this whole thing now, but her mom was speculating, well, saying that actually someone had contacted her pretending to be Valerie after she'd gone missing. And now, knowing what we know, based on the document that will follow this quick summary, it was probably Patrick doing that, which is also very scary to think about. On October 11th of 2023, a pond was drained near Patrick Scott's property. He actually had two properties, and cadaver dogs, 4 separate cadaver dogs, alerted to that pond, but yet they didn't find any human remains, and unfortunately there were no answers for Valerie's family. So then, November 29th of 2023, 175 days later, human remains were found. They initially said in a barrel. That's what was reported by mainstream media. So we all thought it's in a barrel, but based on the documents that just came out today, actually it was in a box. Human remains were found in a homemade box. This guy went to Home Depot, bought 2x4s and tarps and things. One box had human remains in, the other had VHS tapes in, which you'll hear about when I read the documents to you now. And so he was arrested, Patrick Scott, 59 years old. He's at the Rush County Jail. His next pretrial conference session is on the 2nd of January of 2024. And so everybody's waiting now to see what happens next. Is he going to plead guilty or not? Because he sure was nonchalant about admitting to what he did. The things that he said, and you'll hear it now when I read the document to you from the clipping. Just remember, when I read the document, it's from the live stream that I already had. So if I'm saying hi to people or whatever, just know it was part of a live stream. So that's pretty much the overview of this case of Valerie Tindall, 17 years old, last seen June 7th of 2023, and now her neighbor, friend, and boss being arrested and charged with her murder, and her remains being found on his property. Absolutely heartbreaking. So now let's get to the document.
Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share.
Description of the offense. On the date of June 7th, 2023, Valerie Tindall, date of birth 8/29/2005, advised her parents that she was leaving her residence located at 2368 North 700 West Arlington to go to work. Tindall reportedly worked for her neighbor, who was identified as Patrick A. Scott, who was found to own a lawn mowing business, and he was additionally found to live behind her residence at that address. Tindall left her residence and traveled to Shelbyville, operating her Honda Accord. We saw pictures of that earlier. During the trip, Tindall traveled to South High Apartments located across from Shelbyville High School, where she met Patrick Scott. Patrick Scott proceeded to drive Tindall back to his residence. So there they just say that, right? He proceeded to drive her back in his vehicle to his residence, leaving her car there, by the way, which was located 2394 North Oak Street in Arlington, Indiana, on the above date, and arrived there at approximately 12:59 p.m. Valerie Tindall was never seen from or heard from after this date, and her last known social media activity was discovered to be at 12:53 p.m. and was at the location of the 1300 block North 725 West, which I think was near where she had met up with him. During the early stages of this investigation, Patrick Scott was spoken to in regards to assisting in possibly knowing where Tindall was located. As this investigation progressed, it was learned that Scott was not being fully truthful. Scott initially advised law enforcement and Tindall's family that he had not seen Tindall, nor had she worked for him on the above date. When later confronted with evidence to prove otherwise, Scott changed his story and advised that he had driven Tindall to meet at an unknown boy who she was dropped off with in Homer, Indiana. Scott, on another date, advised law enforcement that he brought Tindall all the way back to his residence, and then he returned back to work. Scott claimed on this day, when he returned, Tindall was gone. I just got to eye roll that for a second, just like, ugh. So first, he's like, I didn't see it at all. And he's like, okay, I met her there, but then I drove her to Homer, Indiana to drop her off at a boy. And he even made up the car that the boy had, a little blue car, can't remember the make and model. All right. So then after that, he says, okay, fine. I drove her to my residence, but then I went back to work. And when I got back, she was not there. Wow. All right. So then he said Scott claimed on this date when he returned, she was gone. Scott continually made reference to believing Tindall had ran away and made reference to her father's abusive behaviors to her. Oh my word. Think about what he's being charged with. Of course, he's innocent or proven guilty in a court of law. That's up to the jury to decide. This is the probable cause that they have. Oh man, but to think, if he did this, that he's actually projecting that on her dad, saying, well, her dad was very abusive. Horrible, right? Horrible. Currently, it's grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com if you have something to send me there. So, wow. Multiple search warrants were executed on electronic devices in this investigation, and it was learned that based on those, Scott returned to his residence at approximately 12:59 p.m. on June 7, 2023, with Valerie Tindall. Scott made numerous unusual moves that date, involving not searching the internet like he normally does, and appears to deactivate a lot of the apps on his phone. Oh man. On this date, however, it appears in the background of Scott's phone, the Apple Health app was operating. This app began recording significant health activities at approximately 1:35 p.m. These activities were significant enough to activate this in the background of the phone. His heart rate was going up, right? Okay. Yep. Yeah, Tiff Knox says story keeps changing. blaming the family. Horrible. Sorry, I just pause every now and then just so that we can all just, process what we're reading here, and we're going to need to chunk it like that. I don't know. It helps sometimes, right? So, significant activities, 1:35 p.m., which is only half an hour after getting to his place. We additionally discovered in this investigation that Scott had returned to where Tindall's vehicle was originally parked, and he moved it to another location in what appears to be an attempt to hide it. The vehicle was backed into a parking lot with other broken down vehicles, and the license plates and keys were removed from the vehicle, which is why I thought there was the front and back one, because they say plates, but maybe just the back one then, because you guys say that you don't have front ones in Indiana. I mean, as if that's not suspicious either. Not only does he change his story the whole time, then he blames her father for being abusive. Then he's consoling the family. Don't worry, she's going to come back. Then he's telling the police, well, she wanted to run away. She wanted to run away. And then he also moves her car. Wow. Okay, so, and the plates were also removed. It was later learned that the night that Valerie Tindall disappeared, Patrick Scott and his wife went to Tindall's residence in an attempt to support the Tindall family. If he is convicted of what he's accused of, if he did this to think that he could, so I'm saying if he did, right? Innocent to proven guilty. If he did this, if he could murder a 17-year-old and that very night go over to her parents' house to console them, ooh, that's like next level sick, right? Next level. Horrible. Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much, Karen. I see your article you sent me. That's what we're going to read here as well. So that's where they're getting this from. So, okay. Whoa, actually went over there with his wife. Then he's got no remorse, no shame, no nothing. He can actually go there. That's the point. When people say even the parents are groomed, he's still continuing with that behavior. The mask is on. Oh, goodness. Okay, so this was in the evening hours of June 7th of 2023. On the date of October 11th, 2023, cadaver dogs were placed on a property located directly to the east of Scott's residence. This was completed under the property owner consent and was completed due to a pond located on the property with close proximity to the last known location of Tindall. On this date, 4 separate cadaver dogs gave a positive identification to the presence of human decomposition in the pond. All right. We requested assistance in searching this pond from the Indiana State Police dive team, who completed a dive on the pond, confirming that no one was located in the pond. On a later date, a sonar was placed on the pond, also confirming nothing was located in the pond. When speaking with the handlers for the cadaver dogs, we learned that water is known to hold odor. I was advised that it is possible that this could be associated with water runoff, or could just be the scent from another location that the wind is carrying and the water is maintaining the odor. It should be noted, on the date that this occurred, the wind was coming from the direction of Patrick Scott's other property, located at 2366 North Oak Street, Arlington. Investigators additionally requested a topography study to be conducted, which determined it is possible that the water runoff from Scott's property could drain into this pond. All very interesting to note, right? In obtaining further information from the applications that Scott was found to utilize, we were able to determine that the date after Tindall went missing, that Scott traveled to Home Depot, not Walmart, Home Depot in Greenfield, where he made the purchase of 4 2x4s and 2 sheets of 4x8 OSB. This guy's going to Home Depot and buying tarps. Oh, man. On the date of October 12th, 2023, a flyover was completed of the Scott's properties, during which time we were able to see on Scott's 2 properties multiple areas of obvious ground disturbance. Upon receiving this information, with the other information obtained in this investigation, it was determined that investigators would apply for a search warrant to search this property, to search for human remains as well as other items related to this investigation. On the date of November 27th, 2023, multiple probable cause affidavits were submitted to Judge Hill of Rush Superior Court requesting multiple search warrants, including for the search of Patrick Scott's properties. Okay, on the date of November 28th, 2023, officers from multiple agencies converged on the properties located at 2394 and 2366 North Oak Street, Arlington, for the execution of the search warrants. They said there were at least 40 law enforcement officers, FBI, everyone was there, right? U.S. Marshals. Okay, so at the property located at 2366 North Oak Street, officers observed a large dirt pile with miscellaneous debris. During this time, this area became a focus because of the large dirt mound and hole observed. This area began being dug by utilizing shovels, during which time officers discovered a large homemade box out of OSB and 2x4s. This box was found to be wrapped in a tarp and was discovered to be greater than 5 foot long. When opening this box, it was discovered that it contained miscellaneous paperwork as well as VHS tapes. And I don't know about you, but the first time I read it, I got goosebumps, and I'm getting it again. There's a box, a homemade box, wrapped in a tarp. And inside this box is miscellaneous paperwork as well as VHS tapes. Oh, crap. Officers continued digging this area utilizing equipment. During this time, a second box was revealed. When this box was first discovered, an odor emitted from this box that I know from my experience as an investigator to be commonly associated with decomposition. This box was also discovered to be wrapped in a tarp, was a long rectangular box. Officers continued to dig this box out, eventually removing a box that was found to be constructed with OSB and 2x4s that strikingly matched the first box. This box, however, was wrapped multiple times and contained a strong odor of decomposition. Yes, Marily says a coffin with VHS tapes. That is so scary. Oh my goodness. So then this box was wrapped multiple times, contained the strong odor of decomposition. Additionally observed on this box was duct tape in the seam. Upon opening this box, something wrapped in a black plastic was discovered. I instantly observed this object to be the size of a human and instantly detected the odor of decomposition. This plastic was slowly opened, noting that it was taped and wrapped multiple times. Upon opening this plastic, human remains were discovered inside the box. I observed orange fingernails on these human remains instantly. Okay, for everyone asking what OSB is, Iman says OSB is like plywood but made with wood chips, or maybe you might know it as chipboard. Pistol Amy says a 5-foot box? How many freaking VHS tapes were in there? And that is, it makes me so scared. Oh my word. This guy's 59 years old. What has he been doing all his life? What's on those tapes? My heart goes out to the people that have to not only, unwrap these types of things, which I know they're well trained for, these investigators and the coroners and everyone, but also what they're going to have to look at those tapes. It can be extremely disturbing, potentially. We don't know what's on there, okay? But it doesn't sound good if it's wrapped in tarp and all of that, a homemade box. So they say, I observed orange fingernails on these human remains instantly. Upon reviewing social media, we were able to determine on a photo with Tindall, so Valerie, right, that on June 7th, 2023, she had matching colored fingernails of that which I observed the remains to have. I contacted Rush County Coroner Brenda McMahon at approximately 4:45 p.m., notifying her of the discovery, at which time she advised that she would be en route shortly. It was determined that Patrick Scott would be taken into custody for this investigation at that time. Officers from the FBI and Shelby County Sheriff's Department were sitting surveillance on Scott at the residence of 7304 North CR 600 West Shelby County. So I don't know if I think he was at work from what I remember, because he wasn't on the property at the time. I think he was like, gotta go. Sorry, I gotta go. All right, so they say, I was notified a short time later that Scott was in custody, at which time U.S. Marshal Tom Abro, FBI Special Agent Jeff Robertson, and I went to that location where we took custody of Scott without incident. Linda Scott was also at this residence, and was also transported by law enforcement to Rush County Sheriff's Department in regards to this investigation, which I would assume is his wife. Scott was transported to the Rush County Sheriff's Office, where he was placed in the interview room. Oh, but can we see those tapes eventually? I hope so. I know some states, like we saw with Sarah Boone, they release the tapes early. They release it before the trial even starts, which is always amazing. Like Brooks Houck as well. He tried to get the judge disqualified for doing that, for releasing those interrogation videos or police interviews. So I don't know. I don't know if they would here, but I mean, I'll request it. If they do, they do. If they don't, we have to wait until the trial, right? Oh, Stefan says the VHS tapes must have been from his crimes 20 or more years ago. So scary. What a scary thought. Who knows? Could also be recent. Maybe they just do it like that, you know, to make sure that they're the only ones with copies, or I don't know, something like that. But it's not even like DVDs or something, or CDs. It's like VHS tapes. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So they said Scott was transported to the Rush County Sheriff's Office, where he was placed in the interview room. Prior to speaking with Scott, I advised Scott of his Miranda warning. Scott confirmed that he understood his rights, and during the interview, Patrick Scott admitted to killing Valerie Tindall on the date of June 7th, 2023, at his residence. Okay? So, trigger bunny time. Don't get triggered by the trigger bunny, but trigger bunny time. Trigger warning, because now we're going to hear the details of what he says he did. Date, time, circumstance surrounding the incident. During the interview, Patrick Scott advised the following in regards to this investigation. Prior to advising Scott of his Miranda warning, he advised me that his wife and daughter don't know nothing. Okay. I asked Scott what happened to Valerie. Scott advised that Valerie... Oh, okay, just brace yourself. We might have to get snarky. He advised that Valerie got carried away. Scott advised that Valerie tried to blackmail him into buying her a car. Okay, victim blamer. Scott advised that Tindall thought that she was going to seduce him, and it wasn't going to happen. Right, the guy that offers her a job, that is tracking her on Life 360, that's taking her to aquariums 2 hours away. That guy is saying, you know what? She was coming on to me. This beautiful 17-year-old she was trying to seduce me, and I wasn't going to have it. Yeah, he says she was trying to blackmail him into buying her a car. Okay, Scott advised that Tindall got carried away. Scott advised that Linda doesn't know about it, and advised that no one does. Okay, so that's the second time he's saying that, which to me just raises a red flag. Scott advised that Tindall tried to seduce him, and he wasn't going to have it. I asked Scott what he did to Tindall, and he advised he strangled her with a belt. You're getting Rex Heuermann vibes at this point. Scott advised he then moved Tindall into the office until the next day. Scott advised the belt is gone. He advised when he got home the next day, he made that box. Okay, when did you make the other box, though? Because there were 2 boxes, but all right. Scott advised the hole was already dug, but advised it wasn't dug for that. It was dug for concrete. As if that story makes sense. That's scary. Imagine if he'd buried her in concrete. And actually, I don't want to really speculate that he is a serial killer. I'm just saying a crime of this level, you just never know what he's done his whole life, right? And so when I make references, it just reminds me of things. Like when he says that was dug for concrete, okay. And if he had this business and multiple properties and things like that, doesn't that give you sort of Gacy vibes? People speculated that John Wayne Gacy could have more victims, that he could have buried victims in concrete. So I'm just saying, that is so scary. There's nah, the hole was already dug. But not for that reason, not for those boxes. It was for concrete. Okay, but bro, you literally tore down the shed or the garage or whatever it was. You tore down that structure and burnt it, which I think would be a shed, right? I don't know how you're going to burn a garage. You burnt it. There was rubble there, and that's where these boxes were found, under that? Okay. I asked Scott what the other box was for, and he advised, put shit in. Sorry, I just had to say it like I think he said it. A few words. Put shit in. Scott advised that they were by his bedroom when he strangled her. Scott denied that him and Tindall were in a sexual relationship. He advised that Tindall was trying to come onto him, and Scott advised Tindall was going to tell people that he was making moves on her. groomer alert. I'm hearing that language. I'm hearing a red flag. How about you? Oh, she was gonna tell on you, is what I'm hearing. Okay, and Scott advised that Tindall was gonna tell people that he was making moves on her. Scott advised I wasn't going to have it. Scott advised that things got out of hand. Scott advised the belt was his and was the one he was wearing. At the time. Scott advised that he was fighting Tindall off. And he took it and threw it around her. Scott advised that Tindall had tried to take her clothes off. And he wasn't going to do it. Oh, like this is like maximum victim blaming, right? Goodness me. Okay, I know. Okay, we shall see what they say at the trial. But my word. Yeah, you say the reddest flags ever, right? Steel Guitar says, this is surely not his first rodeo. Scott advised him and Tindall had a pushing and shoving thing. Scott advised after he took his belt off and advised I put it around her neck and I held onto it until she quit. I asked Scott what was going through his head at that time, and he advised he didn't know what to do with her. Scott advised he was trying to figure out what to do with her. He advised he held the belt on her until she quit moving. I asked Scott if he knew she was dead then, and he advised, I pretty much figured so. This guy has like no emotion, right? I've never seen him speak. But the way he's like, is to put shit in his VHS tapes, which who knows what's on there. But even there, when he's like, yeah, I pretty much figured so. It's like, did you know she was dead? Pretty much figured so. Scott advised the next day he built the box in the backyard. Scott advised he put Tindall in it the same day he built it. Scott advised he built the box the day after Tindall went missing, which would have been June 8th of 2023, the same day that you were tearing down a structure and burning it. He advised he built this box the day after she went missing, right, June 8th, and Scott initially claimed he already had the lumber for the box. He denied going to get lumber and advised he always has scrap lumber lying around. Ooh, I wonder if that's going to be proven otherwise lately. I advised Scott of his purchases at Home Depot on the 8th, and he advised, maybe I did. I asked Scott if he remembers doing that, and he advised, I could have. Scott confirmed he went to mow the cemetery on the 8th. Scott advised during that time Tindall was in the office and advised he was the only person to have access in the office. I asked Scott when he got home on that date if anyone was home, and he advised nope. I asked Scott if anyone was home on the 7th, and he advised, I don't know if that means his kids or granddaughter or what. I asked Scott if he heard it, and Scott advised no, and advised that never came down there. Okay, not granddaughter then. Son? Maybe son. Okay. So then Scott confirmed that he drug Tindall into the office and claimed she was clothed. I asked Scott if she was clothed when he put her into the box, in which he advised she was. I asked Scott to tell me what Tindall had said about the car. I guess if he's admitting to all this, I don't know if there's going to be a trial. Right? There is a pre-trial conference set for, well, the next court date is January 2nd. But who knows? Maybe he'll just plead guilty at that point. I don't know. It just sounds like he's admitting to a whole lot over here. He's not hiding anything. Okay? So, I asked Scott to tell me what Tindall had said about the car. Scott advised when her car broke down, if her dad couldn't get it running, he would help her get another car. However, it would be a cheap car. Scott advised that wasn't suiting her and she was wanting a new car. I don't know about that. Sounds like you were dangling a nice new car to get her there on a day on which she wasn't working. I'm speculating. I asked Scott where was the belt that he used, and he advised he didn't remember. However, he still wore it after. Like, did he really have to say that? He's like, I don't know where it is, but I still wore it after. Okay. Scott admitted to leaving Tindall in the office as the family went about their evening. Scott admitted that Tindall remained in the office throughout the night. I asked Scott why he moved the car, and he advised because Elizabeth seen it. I don't know who that is, okay, but a witness. I asked Scott what he did with the license plate and keys, in which Scott advised, they're gone. I threw them in a river. Scott claimed to not remember what river. Scott denied Linda going over to move the car, which I think is his wife. Scott advised that he had parked his truck over there, and he got into the car and moved it over to Berwick. Then he walked back to South High Apartments. Scott denied anyone knowing anything and advised he never told anyone anything. I spoke to Scott about him and Linda going over and speaking with with Valerie's family. Scott advised he didn't remember what they talked about. I asked Scott how this has been since for him and asked him to explain to me how he has functioned like he has. And did he hate Tindall? Scott advised no, and advised that it all kinds of stuff together, like going out to eat, taking them shopping, etc. I asked Scott why Tindall came back to his home that day due to her driving to Shelbyville. Scott advised that Tindall wanted to go back to the house and advised that she didn't give him a reason. The story doesn't add up. He's like, meet me at this job site. Okay, let me drive you back to my house. But then he's like, she wanted to go there and I don't know why. She didn't give a reason. I asked Scott if Tindall put up a good fight and he advised, well, a little bit. I asked Scott how he wrapped the belt and he advised he didn't remember. Scott confirmed he held Tindall until she stopped moving and he confirmed that he knew she was dead. I asked Scott when he wrapped Tindall up and he advised the next day, June 8th. Scott advised this was done on the office floor. Scott was unsure if Alex was home during this time. Scott confirmed that he wrapped Tindall in whatever he had around there and confirmed it was black plastic. He confirmed he wrapped her and taped her several times. He advised it was to get rid of her. He advised he just wrapped her up in plastic and he put her in the box that he built. He advised he took the box he built into the house and he put her in the box in the house. Scott confirmed he screwed the box shut in the house. He then advised he took a 2-wheel dolly. Is that like a wheelbarrow? Right? And hauled the box across to his other property. Okay. Tough guy. Sure. Alyssa says he sure did, wearing his trophy around while visiting the victim's parents and telling them not to worry, she's going to be back. Oh, I know, right? This guy sounds so scary. Like, there's got to be more to this, right? I don't know if someone at 58 years old, he's now 59, just wakes up and does this randomly. Really worried about this guy. So Scott confirmed the hole was already there and confirmed it was deep enough when he got there. Oh, how convenient. Scott then admitted to covering her up and confirmed it was done with a shovel. Scott confirmed it was one of his shovels. I asked Scott about the other box and he advised it had been there since July. Okay, but she went missing in June. So that means he put the box with her in the ground June 8th. And then the other box on in July is according to him, right? Yeah, you guys say dolly is a moving trolley. Okay. 2-wheel dolly. Oh, I know what that looks like. Okay, I know what that is now. I've got a visual. Oh, thank you. So the other box with the VHS tapes had been there since July, he says. I asked Scott what Tindall was saying when this was happening, and he advised nothing that I remember. I asked Scott if Tindall was struggling when he was strangling her, and he advised, yeah. Scott advised he didn't say anything to her, and then he made the statement, I just knew she wasn't going to blackmail me. Oh, man. Scott advised that Tindall was going to tell everyone that he had his way with her. And that never happened. I object. I asked Scott if his plan was to kill her, and he advised, no, that just kind of happened. I asked him if it was because she was going to blackmail him, and he advised, yeah. So she was going to tell someone. Shame. I wonder how long that went on. So I asked Scott if this felt good, getting this off his chest, and he advised, I guess. I asked Scott if this bothered him that he killed Tindall, and he advised, well, I wasn't too crazy about it. Guys. Like, isn't this... Now you see why I said at the beginning of the stream, my eyes were this big before I started this live stream, because I'm like, I was reading this, it just came in, it's a brand new document, and I mean, my jaw is just on the floor. The way this guy talks, just like, yeah, well, I wasn't too crazy about it. That's what you say when you're admitting you killed a 17-year-old. And it's like, yeah, I just wasn't too crazy about it, but no biggie, basically. This interview in its entirety will be forwarded with this report to the Rush County Prosecutor's Office. After the interview, Scott was taken into the physical custody for the offense of murder. Scott was remanded to the custody of the Rush County jail staff. Medical aid given, pronounced dead, time by who? Upon opening the box that Tindall was located in, I observed the body was in an advanced stage of decomposition. She was obviously deceased at the time. So here they are confirming that it's Valerie Tindall. Medical examiner notified his actions. Rush County Coroner Brenda McMahon and numerous deputy coroners arrived on the scene. Upon arrival, the coroner McMahon was briefed on the investigation. The FBI evidence response team was on the scene and assisted with the removal of the body. Autopsy ordered, performed, conclusions, autopsy is scheduled and pending. Weapons or force used, Patrick Scott admitted to using his belt and placing it around Valerie Tindall's neck until she was deceased. Patrick Scott then moved Tindall's body into the office where he stored her for the night. The next day, Scott constructed a box and placed Tindall's body into the box after wrapping it in plastic and taping it. The box was placed in a hole at Scott's other property and then covered. Premises description. Scott resides at 2394 North Oak Street, which is the location Scott admittedly murdered Valerie Tindall. He then placed the body at his other property at 2366 North Oak Street. See, even that is extremely sadistic because that property where he placed her body is less than 100 yards from where her parents live. Oh my word. He literally put her right under their nose and then walked around with the belt on that he strangled her with. Suspect identification description. At this time, we observed fingernails on the subject's body that match Valerie Tindall's based on social media photos. Additionally, Patrick Scott admitted that he murdered Valerie Tindall and buried her in the box. Suspect and victim relationships. Valerie Tindall worked for Patrick Scott. Based evidence, their relationship was questionable as they seemed very close. Scott was found to provide Tindall with money, food, gas, and took her on trips. Witnesses. Okay, so we've got detectives and the FBI agents and everyone. Sorry, I just got a fright. I'm like, wait, who is the witnesses here? Okay, so all these officials. Witness observations. This investigation was primarily conducted by Detective Smallwood, Detective Herbert, Detective Hoeing, USMS Tom Abreu, and FBI Special Agent Jeff Robinson and myself. They did a good job. Oh my goodness. How many? 175 days from when she went missing to when she was to when her body was found. Wow. Sergeant Ratcliffe and Major Brinson assisted during the execution of the search warrant. FBI response team handled the processing of the scene, photographing evidence, packaging, and collecting. Evidence obtained. There have been multiple pieces of evidence confiscated as part of this investigation, which will be noted in a later supplemental report. Looking for that. Yeah, that's the thing. Amy, you say, why say a box? I thought it was a barrel. So did I. All the reports are saying she was found in a barrel, but this is a box. This is him saying he put her in a box. Good question. So, I trust the documents. How about you? It was a homemade box. So I guess it's from eyewitnesses yesterday, media at the scene, and probably looking like what's going on there. Maybe they saw a barrel near it or near the rubble. Probably. There's probably a barrel there. And they probably heard, oh my word, remains were found. And they put the two together, right? But it sounds like this is way more detailed. Remember, this is the updated information that came in 15 minutes before the stream. It's brand new. Like from the court clerk just came out. There was so many details. It's so scary. Oh my goodness. So multiple pieces of evidence. This latest supplemental report. That's going to be hectic. Alcohol or drug involvement, none known. Additional information. Through this investigation, there were supplemental reports and investigative reports noted in Law Case 231087, which will be included with this report to the Rush County Prosecutor's Office. Patrick A. Scott was taken into physical custody for the offense of murder. I affirm under penalties for perjury that the foregoing statements are true, and then, of course, sign. Well, it's not signed right now. Approved by, they still got to sign this one, clearly, but I'm sure they've got a signed copy there, right? Spillman Technologies name summary report. Patrick Allen Scott. All right, there he is, 59 years old. Well, we've seen his mugshot as well. Date of birth 11/25/64. 5'10", 185 pounds. So 84 kilograms, they say. Blue eyes, gray hair. Whew. Isn't that hectic? So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, you can just hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. Make sure your notifications are on so that you get videos, live streams, shorts, community posts, and all the things that I make for you. I'll keep you posted about this case and all the others that we are following, of course, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.